So Norm Baker from the Rise of Australia Party. I guess the first question is why should voters of McMillan vote for you?
Why should they? Because I'm very interested in their future.
But you said yourself that you're not much of a political person. I guess what would people expect of a politician type person?
Only because in my lifetime I never had an ambition to be a politician, and I still don't. I'm not going to see myself as a politician. I'm going to see myself as a minister. So I'm going to be serving the public.
But a minister has a portfolio. Would you?
Well, that's right. Minister for education, minister for prime minister. We're all supposed to be serving the public, and that's my aim. Yeah.
But if you have no political ambition, I guess what could people expect from you in a ministerial role? Because that is a political role.
Well, at 73, I don't think I need an ambition to be a politician, and I don't really need the salary. Right? I'm self-sufficient. But our nation needs someone to stand up, and there's things going on in our nation that when we speak about them, we have life-threatening phone calls. And we've got to be willing to put our life on the line for this nation. Young men are going over to Afghanistan. They're putting their life on the line, and those Afghanistans are over here, and some others too, trying to take over this nation and put in Sharia law. They've already been to Gillard twice, that I know of, while she was Prime Minister, to take part of Queensland and put Sharia law in there. Now, I'm not against the Muslim, because Muslim just means submitting to Allah, but I'm against their book. I mean, their book means to wipe the white race out. I've read some of it.
You've read some of it, but you haven't read all of it. Do you consider yourself an expert on Muslim views?
Oh, I've never mentioned about being an expert. I just mentioned that I've read some of it, and I'm reading more of it all the time. But I have two particular friends who are Muslims. We invite them to lunch, and they invite me to lunch. But I don't like the Sharia law, mate. I don't like to see women put down, and when they're in court, it takes two women to equal one man as a witness. They chop your hand off if you happen to pick something up that's not yours. They want to cut your throat, which was done over in England not so long ago, because he was a soldier who went over to Afghanistan. I mean, we don't want that here.
There may be a small number of Muslim people who want to see the introduction of Sharia law in Australia, but it's by no means a majority, and it's certainly it's also not a majority of people trying to come into the country. Why do you believe that this is such an issue when it's not even getting a majority of a small number of people, let alone a majority of voters, to be able to see it implemented?
It's an easy question to answer. They're less than 2% of the population in Australia at present, and they are acting as though they're the majority, and people are listening to them as though they're the majority, and they're giving in to them as though they're majority, and this is not right. We've got people that are a lot more than 2%, the Greeks and the Italians and things like that, but they're not. The Muslim people don't integrate into our lifestyle in Australia. They want to change it, and they want to dramatically change it.
And I have some Muslim friends who are equally, I guess, as Western as, Western, sorry, not the right word, but as equally as, I guess, Australian as any other of my friends. They are integrating. Where's your proof for it not to say that Muslim people aren't integrating into Australian life?
Well, I know a few things I can't speak about just now. That's not the right time.
If the right time isn't when you're trying to get elected, when is the right time?
Because there's wisdom in what we say and when we say it. And it's just not the right time to say some of the things I know now.
It wouldn't an election be a wise place to say it, though?
The time will come. The time will come. Yeah.
When would that time be?
Well, let me say this. We are at war in Australia, on Australian soil. And most Australians that I meet don't understand we're at war. Why do you think we've got our soldiers over in Afghanistan? So as we're not fighting on our own soil. If we bring them back here too quick, we might find we're fighting this thing on our own soil. And it's the Muslims that are causing it. And I'm not against Muslims per se, but I don't like some of the things that they believe out of the Quran, so my beef is with their book.
Equally, there are other. Are you as concerned about other religions with other religious texts that you don't necessarily believe in yourself?
The Quran is the only one that's telling their people that they ought to kill the white race, Jews.
Equally, the Christian text suggests the killing of a whole range of people in different circumstances, too numerous to pin down and mention. Are you not concerned about the prevalence of Christianity in Australian society for the same reasons as you are for Muslim texts?
Well, this nation is a Judo-Christian nation, whether people like it or not. We say Christian prayers at the beginning of our parliament. Okay.
For those who partake in the Christian faith, yes.
Well, we don't say prayers from any other religion.
There are ministers who have sworn on the Quran as they've come into the ministry.
Absolutely, and that shouldn't be allowed.
But then equally, shouldn't the Bible not be allowed if it's advocating the murders that you're concerned about from the Muslim text?
No, our constitution is built on the Bible. We are Judo-Christian whether we like it or not, because our forefathers were Judo-Christian and they put in a Judo-Christian constitution, and it has proved to be the wisest one in the world. And we're the envy of the world simply because of that.
The constitution, though, is fundamentally non-religious, and that it stipulates that the religion, so that the Commonwealth government shouldn't make any laws in regards to faith or religion.
That's not completely right, because in the preamble for the Constitution it says...
The preamble isn't legally binding, though.
Beg your pardon?
The preamble isn't legally binding, it's the part...
No, but it gives you the idea of the forefathers who put the Constitution together, and it says, or it mentions Almighty God, if in the sight of Almighty God, so and so and so and so. So this Almighty God was the Christian God. Those guys that put the Constitution in had their lives threatened, the same as the Americans when they put their Constitution in. Because if you want to put in a Judo-Christian anything, you're going to have the enemies of Judo-Christian at you. But guess what? We are one of the top nations in the world, and the top nations in the world have a Judo-Christian constitution, and it's a fact. We can't deny it.
I'm assuming that you'd be including the US Constitution in that.
Huh?
The US founding fathers, for one thing, were fundamentally for the separation of church and state as well. So, although the founding fathers may have been, of many constitutions around the world may have been...
No, you're mistaken there. Their forefathers, I forget who it was, Franklin, I think, and he speaks about this. And the spirit of the whole thing was that we don't want religions running our country, but we do want to serve under our God. Now, I've read it, and I just can't quote it to you. So it was Judo-Christian, very much so. They came over on the Plymouth, and they came over because they wanted to start a Judo-Christian country. That's how the United States started. And to get that constitution together, I've read history books on it, they had their lives threatened. They were in deep trouble, but they kept at it. And look at the nation they built, the greatest in the world. The United States has been the greatest in history, the greatest one nation in history, the most powerful, the most generous. Even now, they're giving big money to their enemies, because there's a lot of, starving people.
Going back locally, I guess, what could the people of McMillan expect to see if you were their representative? What changes would they see?
Well, changes...
Or would you advocate for, yes? That would specifically relate to local issues in this area.
It's not easy for me to speak of local areas just at the moment, because we're only...
Standing for one, though.
What? Big pardon?
You are standing for one.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm at the moment looking at the big picture. Because even though we're in McMillan, we are Australians, and what we do over the nation is going to affect us here in McMillan. And if we can put in or keep what is really solid, proven policies in Australia, then it's going to affect our people here positively. And then, when we can do that and get our nation back on its, let's say roots, like the tree I was talking about, grounded on good, solid, foundation, which we're losing. That's why I'm in it. We're losing them. We get them back again. Well, then we can look at the more, minor things, and look at the very, little towns and things like that. See what we can do then. We've got to do things in order.
Ron Baker, thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.